Hi friends. So in this video we are going to do the post-match analysis of the US Open finals this year, Djokovic versus Medvedev. It was an amazing performance from Medvedev and at the same time not a good performance from Djokovic that led to the victory for Medvedev. His maiden Grand Slam title. First of all, congratulations to him, a deserved winner this day, and he previously had played a couple of finals and had not been able to win. So now it's a very important achievement for him. He has a Grand Slam now, and I think he played like a champion in this match. So we'll discuss more what happened, but first let's look at the stats. So the match score is pretty straightforward. Medvedev won in straight sets 6-4, 6-4, 6-4. There were multiple breaks in between as well, so it was not only one break per set, but in the end it resulted in the match. And if you see the stats, you can definitely find out that Djokovic was not having a good day. If you see the aces, six aces, which is good, but if you see the first serve percentage, which is so low for Djokovic, it's 54%. It's just not good enough at this level. It's 58 for Medvedev. It's not too good either, but yes, it's above Djokovic. It's almost 60%. If you look at the first serve points won 81%. But what we cannot see here is the timing of those first serves. Medvedev was able to get a lot of free points on that first serve, where even if Djokovic was able to return, it was not a good return, and Medvedev always had the upper hand in the rallies, and he was consistently able to serve well throughout the whole match. The next point that I would like to raise here is the net points. So you can see that Djokovic was actually trying to get more to the net. You can see 47 times in the overall match he came to the net. I would say he should have come a little bit more on the net, but as I mentioned earlier, he was not feeling well. If you see Djokovic's press conference, he mentioned that he didn't have any legs. That meant he was not able to run down a lot of balls. He was not able to bend for the shots. It's not that he was injured. Maybe it was just the tiredness or the fatigue from playing so much tennis. Whatever it was, but it was not good for Djokovic, and as a result, he lost a lot of points, a lot of unforced errors. If you see the winners to unforced error count, you can see 27 winners and 38 unforced errors. So not a good ratio there. And you can also see the break points won, only 1 out of 6, which is not expected from Djokovic. Only 17% of the break points converted. Whereas if you talk about Medvedev, it's all good. If you see all the stats, 16 aces, way above Djokovic, and way a lot of it was a display of dominant serving from Medvedev. He was so good. It was almost impossible for Djokovic to return some of those serves, even given that how good a returner Djokovic is. And then if you see the wins on the second serve, you can see 58% Medvedev. So Medvedev was too good from the baseline, just like Zverev. But with Medvedev, the advantage was that Medvedev was quicker on the court, and Djokovic was not so quick today. In the match against Zverev, Djokovic was also quick, Zverev was also quick, so it was at par. They had a very close, tight match. But today, if you see, Djokovic was not able to run down that many balls. He was not able to hit that many good ground strokes. But on the other hand, Medvedev's court coverage was amazing, and I'll show you two patterns where Medvedev was just brilliant. When I show you the next slides. And if you see the winners to unforced errors as well, 38 winners and only 31 unforced errors. Now, what more can you expect from a guy in a final where he has not won a Grand Slam? I think this was one of the most amazing performances that you can do in a final. And if you saw Medvedev from the first point, it did not look like he had any sort of pressure in the match. He was dominant, he was focused, he was determined, he was playing well from the first shot. Only in the final game of the match, which could have been the final game at 5-1 in the third set, where Medvedev had double break. Only at that point it looked like Medvedev finally faced pressure because he was serving for the championship. It's the first time that Medvedev, got a chance to do that, and definitely there is some pressure. So he was not able to serve out the match. He made 3 or 4 double faults consecutively, and as a result, he was broken. But then at 5-4, again he had a chance to serve for the championship. This time he did not falter. He served well. He also hit good shots from the baseline, and he was finally able to close the match. So that was the only time when Medvedev, I saw him under pressure. Rest of the times he was just too dominant. For Djokovic, I would say one thing I was surprised that he was not too much expressive on the court. If you could see, he was playing well within himself, and I had, you know, mentioned this in my previous video in the preview that Djokovic should have, been more expressive, trying to engage the crowd, trying to, celebrate each point that he wins just to intimidate the opponent or maybe put him under some pressure. But that was not the case. He was playing well within himself, and because he was down all the match, he was behind all the match. He did not find anything, that could motivate him or, that could engage the crowd. Maybe a very long rally where Djokovic wins, or maybe a break point converted. Although he, in the second set, if you see, Djokovic had chances. That was the only time I felt that, Djokovic should have converted those break points in the second set. In the beginning of the second set, it was love 40 on Medvedev's serve, and if Djokovic would have taken one of those points, who knows, it would have been 2-love, and then Djokovic would have had chances to, hold the serve and maybe get the second set, and then anything could have happened. Maybe the adrenaline would have kicked in for Djokovic, and it would have helped him to win the match. But the fact is, he was not able to convert. Medvedev was solid. He played well. It's not like Djokovic made whole lot of unforced errors on all the big points, but yes, on 50% of the big points, Djokovic did commit the unforced error, and the rest of the times Medvedev was too good. So it was a combination of Medvedev playing great tennis, whereas Djokovic playing below par, that resulted in this overall match. And that is why I feel that Djokovic should have tried something different when things were not working. Maybe trying to change the pattern of play, or maybe trying to engage the crowd, being more aggressive, showing off frustration, or anything that could have helped him, change the moment of the match. So in the end, I would say Medvedev played a really good match. And let's look at the key factors now. So as I mentioned in stats, Medvedev's first serve was dominant in the match, and that was a big factor because Djokovic was just not getting any chances on Medvedev's serve, and that put a lot of pressure on himself, and his serve was below par, only 54% first serves. So you can see, it was so difficult for Djokovic to sort of hold his serve, and at the same time, Djokovic was making a lot of unforced errors on big points. He was not able to bend down for the volleys. He was not able to make the approach shots. Even on very important points, Djokovic made a lot of unforced errors, and that is just not going to work against someone like Medvedev, who is such a brilliant tennis player, intelligent tennis player, who he knows what to do, what needs to be done on each point. He can adjust his game. He has no weakness overall. So I think that was a very difficult match for Djokovic. He had to perform his best. Unfortunately, he was not able to do so. And because a lot of things were on the line as well, so that is why I think we are more surprised. But I think Djokovic, as he mentioned in his press conference, that it was one of those days where he was not able to play well, and the other guy was absolutely brilliant. And it does happen. It has happened in the past as well. But for Djokovic, it was unfortunate because he had so much achievements, so many achievements on the line. But life goes on, and as he mentioned that it happens in tennis, and Medvedev was a deserved winner today. And also Medvedev's court coverage and baseline defense was really nice. I mean, it looked like he was everywhere. If you see the match, even when Djokovic was hitting aggressive shots, aggressive forehands down the line in the open court, Medvedev somehow was very quick, and he was able to hit with a lot of pace back to Djokovic on the other side of the court, changing the direction. So it just shows you that it was so difficult for Djokovic to create openings in the match. There was no sort of downtime or no resting period for Djokovic where Medvedev's form would have dipped. So it was quite difficult. And then the last point is Djokovic's fatigue, as he mentioned in the press conference as well, that he was not feeling his legs. It was tiring. He was not able to serve well. There could be many reasons for that. It's a long tournament. It's a long year for Djokovic. He has played a lot of matches, and the last match also was 5 set with Zverev. It was quite taxing, and maybe there was not enough time for Djokovic to recover. It was just one day. Usually in some of the Grand Slams, we have 2 days off for one player, then one day off for the other player. But anyway, whatever was the case, the fact is Medvedev was playing well, and Djokovic, because of all these reasons, overall was below par, and that's what resulted in this victory for Medvedev. Now I mentioned that I will show you two pattern of plays or two key shots that Medvedev hit very nicely, and you can see it's a baseline point. It's a baseline thing that I'm trying to mention here. And if you see Djokovic here, Djokovic, even when he hit a good down the line forehand in the open court, it was aggressive. Most of the other guys would have found it difficult to defend or maybe to return the ball, in the middle of the court or on the same side of the court. But Medvedev, as is represented by this green lines, was able to first run down very quickly to Djokovic's yellow line, which is the forehand down the line. And at the same time, Medvedev was also able to hit the cross-court backhand of that shot very nicely and very aggressively. So you can see the green line that is going cross-court from Medvedev's end of the court to Djokovic's end of the court. That was a pattern of play that you would see a lot of times. Djokovic tried to be aggressive, but Medvedev was there, and each time he was using his cross-court backhand, a quick backhand, which actually put Djokovic in a defensive position, and Djokovic could not understand what he needs to do actually, because whenever he's hitting an aggressive shot, Medvedev is there and he's hitting the cross-court shot without making any errors. And the same thing applied for another pattern of the play that I'm going to show in the next slide here in this one. So if you can see, Medvedev, or let's start off with Djokovic. So the next pattern of play was the cross-court forehand. So Djokovic, when he was able to hit the cross-court forehands as is represented by the yellow line, most often than not, Medvedev was able to, hit it back with a lot of pace. It's represented by the green line, and that's what caused a lot of issues for Djokovic, because I mean, it was similar to Tsitsipas. If you had seen the French Open final this year, in the first two sets, Tsitsipas's forehand was amazing, and cross-court to cross-court forehand rallies were more often than not, won by Tsitsipas in that match. And similar was the case here, because Medvedev was hitting that running forehand cross-court with a lot of aggression, and Djokovic was not able to create openings from that end of the court and was not able to get too much errors, from Medvedev's side, from that shot. So as a player, if you see, if you want to beat Medvedev, you are hitting a aggressive forehand down the line, you are hitting an aggressive forehand cross court, still you are not able to win the point, because Medvedev's defense was amazing, his court coverage, his speed was very good, and it's not that he was just trying to return or keep the ball in play, he was hitting the aggressive shots, so it was difficult for Djokovic to control those balls from the baseline. And that's why Medvedev was able to win more often than not, more points, and his serve was also good. So it was really difficult for Djokovic to do anything, and that is why you see the result, that the result was in straight sets. It was not a four-setter, not a five-setter, because Medvedev was in control of the match throughout. And the reasons I've already mentioned, it was too good from Medvedev. More winners, less unforced errors, very good first serve, very good baseline game. So overall amazing. And if you talk about Djokovic, then lack of court coverage, he was feeling fatigue, maybe due to the previous match or due to the whole season. He was not able to bend down a lot on the low balls, and at the same time he looked sort of, he would have been under pressure, but we were not able to see that because he was quite reserved. So I thought that was also one of the things that he could have shown more emotion that he usually does, more hunger in the match. But Medvedev did deserve to win this match. He played an amazing match overall, and also an amazing tournament. In the whole tournament, it never looked like Medvedev was facing any sort of pressure or any sort of issues with his game. So congratulations to Medvedev. It's his first Grand Slam, and now things get more interesting for the next year, where Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal are still tied at 20 Grand Slams each, and anything can happen. It will be interesting to see how Djokovic recovers from this defeat. And I think one of the points that Djokovic going forward has to remember, that he's not 25 or 30 years old. He is also 35 years old, so we have to consider that he might not be able to perform his best for a continuous period of 7 matches, as we can see with Nadal and Federer nowadays. Even if they play a great match, the next match they are not able to perform their best, and that happens due to age, due to different factors that come with it. And that is why I think it will be more important for Djokovic to change his game a little bit in terms of being aggressive. He has to be more aggressive. He has to make a constant effort to finish the matches quickly, so that he rests his body as much as he can, and he's well prepared for the latter stages of the tournament, where you can see the semifinals and the finals. So that is a point that he might need to make adjustment, the same way Nadal did, in the latter stages of his career. If you see Nadal nowadays, he's way aggressive than he used to be, and the reason is that he cannot defend that well. His body cannot take it anymore. So I think that is what the approach Djokovic has to take going forward, so that he's fresh for the finals. He doesn't have any fitness issues. Now, if you see, go years back in 2011, 2012, Djokovic was able to play two back-to-back five-setters, 5-hour matches, one against Murray, once against Nadal at the Australian Open. But those days are, have gone by now. It's like 9 years later, so definitely the things are not the same. So that is why I think all the big players, whether it is Djokovic, Nadal, or Federer, they now have to make a constant effort, that they have to finish the match quickly, try to be more aggressive, not get involved in too many rallies, even though their natural game might be the same, but still they have to make an adjustment there. And for the young players, Medvedev, Tsitsipas, wherever, I think they are not part of the next gen anymore. They have already beaten these big guys in the Grand Slams, so now they know how to beat them, and they are constantly knocking on the door. Now, any Grand Slam, you cannot say that, of course, there are surfaces. So Wimbledon, definitely only these guys usually make it to the finals. French Open also, only these guys usually make it to the finals. Uh, you know, but the other Grand Slams like the Australian Open and the US Open, anything can happen. All these guys are, good enough to beat the big players. They have, shown that in the past as well. So that was my overall analysis, guys. I think it was awesome performance from Medvedev, below par performance from Djokovic, and that resulted in the victory for Medvedev. So thanks for watching.